Hello, Don.
Hello, good to be back in Les Sables.
Yeah, nice to see you here. So, we all heard here about the Ocean Globe race, who is the little daughter from the Golden Globe, or I don't know, what is the race?
True, we all know about the very first around the world yacht race, which is the Golden Globe. Solo, non-stop, 9 started, 1 finished. About 4 years later, in 1973, ordinary sailors had the idea of having a fully crewed race around the world. So that evolved in what's called the Whitbread Race, and it started from Portsmouth in the UK, went down to Cape Town, then it sailed across to Sydney, then from Sydney around Cape Horn to Rio de Janeiro, and then back to the UK. So it was an epic. It was about 7 months. A few sailors were lost overboard, sadly, in storms, and were never recovered. Boats were dismasted, rudders fell off, hulls broke down. It was a real eye-opener, and it's taken place every 4 years since. And it evolved from the Whitbread into the Volvo race and became very professional. So we're recreating the 50th anniversary edition of the Whitbread race, going back to basics, simple systems, no GPS, no satellites, Dacron sails, and giving it back to ordinary sailors, which is quite exciting.
But you still have, like for the Golden Globe, special equipment in case of problems or for the security things?
Yeah, exactly. We've got, whilst it's going back to the good old days, cassette tapes and so on, we have world's best practice for safety and survival gear, and it's proving incredibly popular because when the race moved into the Volvo race, it was very professional. Okay, the sailors were high-paid, elite, super skilled guys. The boats were super technology, incredibly expensive, and the ordinary sailors couldn't compete anymore. They just missed out. So for 30 years, they have never been able to race around the world.
So that's your plan, to make a race for ordinary sailors?
Yeah, in similar boats that were sailed in 1973. So Swan production boats, Baltic, the sorts of boats that people go sailing to the Caribbean or on a holiday. They're special boats because they have to survive the Southern Ocean. But yeah, they're ordinary. People, someone can go and buy one and actually enter this race, and that's exactly what's happening. It's proving very popular. We've had hundreds and hundreds of inquiries in the first 7 months. We've got 26 entries already. We're not quite full, but it's filling fast, and I'm happy to say we've even got a Les Sables entry.
And which is the sailor who inspired you? When you was a young boy in Australia, I think you were surfing, after you made a lot of sailing all around the world, circumnavigation and all this. Do you have a favorite sailor?
Probably Robert Knox-Johnston was the one that really ticked the box and inspired me a lot, but they all did. But Bernard Batesi, I read all the books, read all about him, and so there was a whole group of those early guys that got me fired up. And even with Sir Robert Knox-Johnston, he was involved in the Whitbread on a couple of editions as well. And so I followed all the Whitbread races, and I actually tried to do 2 campaigns because I became quite good friends with the late Sir Peter Blake in 1988, and he helped me, he inspired me. But unfortunately, both of those campaigns failed. I was offered a skipper's job, but they didn't quite get the money. So again, it was always been in the back of my mind. And when we conceived the idea of the Golden Globe race in 2014, I thought, wow, if this works, we will definitely launch a 50th anniversary edition of the Whitbread, and that's exactly what we're doing.
For now, how many people do you have who are interested in the Ocean Globe race?
Well, with confirmed entries at the moment, there's 25, I think it is at the moment. It's hard to keep up, but that's in all divisions. The adventure class, which is the smallest class, is for production boats from 46 feet through to 55 feet. Then the Sayula class, named after the winner of the first Whitbread, a Swan 65, is for boats between 55 feet and 65 feet. And then the flyer class is for boats that have entered any of the first 3 editions of the Whitbread race. And we've got 4 or 5 entries in that class, so we're filling up really quickly. We can only have a maximum of 33. And we've also now introduced a new class called the Classic Challenge, and that's for more modern boats, the Whitbread 60s, Volvo 60s, and the Whitbread Maxis, and they race for their own trophy called the Big Red Trophy. So we're covering the whole history of the Whitbread, which is very exciting.
And for the rules, you already told us about the boats, but about the crew, because people here said you don't need to have the same crew for all the circumnavigation. That's a lot more funny than the Golden Globe. I mean, for normal people like me.
Yeah, well, I mean, a classic case is Dominic Dubois, who is the owner of Multiplus, great sailor. He's competed in a lot of short-handed sailing. He's entered with a Swan 651, a 65-foot boat. He will rotate 28 crew during the course of the race because you can change some of your crew in each of the stopovers, which adds another dimension as well in a lot of ways. So it's a lot of fun.
Is that true that it's compulsory to have a woman on board? Everybody needs to have a woman?
Yeah, you must have a mixed gender crew, and you must have someone, at least one person under 24. So the funny part was Tracy Edwards from Maiden, that some people may know, you know, the first all-women crew in the Whitbread. As soon as she heard about it, she entered the race straight away. And so I was going to give her a dispensation from that rule so she could have all women. And she said, no way, I might want to take a male cook, because that's where she started from.
And why do you want to have a woman on board? Before we said woman on board is not so easy for the crew.
Yeah, well, that may be true.
I speak about books and history.
Yeah. But the reality is, you know, I mean, I've always been a big supporter of women in sailing, or not a big supporter in my own little ways. I try to support the concept and the idea. And sure, some people complain when you do that. They say, no, the women should stand on their own 2 feet. They don't need special consideration. But I don't mind, you know. This will give some women a chance to get on the boat that maybe prior to, you know, if we didn't do that, wouldn't have that chance, and that's a good thing. Personally, when I go on an expedition with 12 guys on my boat, it's always a lot nicer when there's one woman. It makes it a bit more human. So I think
you're more polite on board, maybe.
Well, you know, no, it makes it more real and more fun. And I think anyone that complains now or says it's a problem, I think at the end of the day they'll enjoy the experience. And hopefully there's more than one woman on some boats. You know, hopefully there'll be 3, 4, half the crew will be women. You know, who knows?
Thank you very much, Don.
Thank you.
See you soon here for the Vendée Globe, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, wouldn't miss it.
Thank you.